Okay, Jeff from Minneapolis in the US asks, will the glacial retreats mean less ability to grow food in Nepal?
Well, the glacier lakes or glacier are the source of water in Nepal. So probably in the few decades to come, we will see more water in Nepal, because with the melt, there will be more flow of water in the rivers. That's quite likely. But in the long run, we are very likely to see there will be a problem in irrigation. There will be a problem with the floods that we see. So you see this the problem of vicious cycle is going to continue with leading into more poverty.
You've touched a nerve here. We've got questions arriving by the second here. Has Nepal been given any money to adapt to climate change yet?
As far as to my knowledge, not yet, because the complicated framework, the complicated mechanism or the structure of or accessing to the fund is very, very difficult. However, recently some funds were available just for the capacity building of the country, but that was in a very, very minimal scale. Well, our impacts are just so immense.
Okay, just to remind you, this is Raju Pandit Chhetri from Nepal, and I'm plying him with questions because you're sending in so many. Here's another one from Ken I in the UK. If there is, this is the big question here. Nepal is a relatively small country with some giant neighbours, and the rivers, of course, they go through Nepal, they affect China, India, everyone's intertwined. And the question is, if there is lake outbursts, won't that also affect neighbouring countries such as India? Can you all work together on this?
Yes, that is a very important question, I think. And bilaterally, we have the problems of rivers with Nepal is a bilateral issue, just not the problem of Nepal. It flows via Nepal to India, and sometimes some of the rivers even reach Bangladesh. So it seems the problem that we need to tackle is not only with a single country, but it should be a regional issue as well. So there are already efforts being in LDC group or in G77 plus China, the problems to be taken in a regional level as well. Yes.
In a region where regional friendship is not always evident. Another one from Jonathan VC Santa Cruz, California. What alternative networks excuse me, what alternative networks do you see forming as promising ways to solve some of the big issues, either globally or locally? Sorry, I misread that. Have you got the question? What alternative networks do you see forming as ways of solving some of the big issues? So I think, in other words, under the existing networks, are they going to be able to solve these huge problems? If not, what do you need? What is needed to solve them?
For a country like Nepal, I think the first thing what we really need to get support is on the adaptation part. That the adequate fund should be available and timely funds should be available so that the impacts can be mitigated on time. So it's not only about after the problem occurs, but before, if the country can be supported for the problems to be tackled beforehand, minimizing the risks. I think that is what we really need. But in some of the agendas where LDC has been as a group has been pushing forward seems to be very much in line with what Nepal really wants. So in terms of LDC group experiences, something seems to be very positive, but the way that is being responded is not so positive. So yeah, I would say efforts are being made, but the amount of the focus that needs to be put, the seriousness that has to be put, is not seen at the moment.
Is there any indication that the new government in Nepal has given this priority, climate change a priority? I mean, it's a government beset by huge problems. It's got its own political problems. It's got all the traditional development problems. Has it talked about climate change? Has it mentioned it? Or is this just one of many things it has to deal with?
As you rightly said, Nepal has just faced huge political change and political problems. At the moment, the government is much focusing to settle down the peace process that was quite endangered in a way. So, though the government is much focused on the peace process to come up with, recently the government has also announced that it will also work hard to tackle the impacts of climate change. But when you say climate change for Nepal, it is not the climate change. It is to tackle with the disaster that we are seeing, with the floods that we are seeing, with the poverty that the Nepalese are seeing, and the kind of threats from the impacts of climate that we see, which comes in a compounded or in a package type of issue. It has to address all these things.
It's an incredibly vivid picture you're painting of the problems you've got to tackle. Let me just ask you one thing. Are you, while you're here, are you in touch with your own, with the country's delegation?
Yes, I've been having informal meetings with them. They're putting their points positively, but the response that is being seen from all the responsible nations who were supposed to be really supporting and tackling doesn't seem to be very positive. But they seem to be on the way to put their points forward.
Okay, we're in danger of running out of time now. But there's such a lot of interest in this. Let's just try and get in one or two more. This is from Nani Kayo, Cherokee Nation. Is Nepal looking at market opportunities that their increased water supply will offer, at least for a couple of generations?
Well, in terms of market thing with the related to water, what we have the potential is to produce immense hydropower. But on the other hand, well, we talk about the big hydropower projects. They again have their own problems. They cause lots of people displacement, lots of agricultural lands are submerged, and a whole lot of problems come with big dams. So, though we see a potentiality at the moment, exploiting markets in terms of water is not so clear at the moment, and they are likely to cause more other problems. And we don't want, I think, when the problems are already so immense, we don't want more problems to happen. But we definitely see that we have potentiality with the hydropower.
I think I've run through the questions I have. I hope I haven't lost any. That you've all sent in from Second Life. Food, yes, we've done food. But let me just quickly take you up on one point that I didn't follow up on. When you're talking to the government, they are obviously aware of these problems. There's a complex negotiating process, but you're a relatively small country. Even your neighbours are big. How does Nepal get its views? Does it go through a group of countries, just so that people understand how the negotiation works? Because your voice alone would be probably ignored by the US and other countries. So how do you make it heard in the negotiations? Yes,
you rightly raised the issue about like our being a small country, our voice not being really heard. At the moment, the strategy of the Nepalese government has been to go along with the LDC group, so that
that's the least developed countries.
Yes, LDC group, so that their voice can be put in a more stronger way. But as you say, like since it's a very small country, many of the time we have had the experience of completely being ignored or completely being bypassed with other bigger neighboring nations or with the group where other stronger nations seems to be pushing more forward with their own problems. That's a reality here.
Well, thank you very much. That's an incredibly vivid picture of some of the problems, the real problems that are already, they're not theoretical, they're not in the future, they're here now. So thanks very much for coming in. I'm sorry I called you a journalist. That's a terrible insult. You're a community worker. Someone actually doing some honest day's work is much more praiseworthy. So thanks very much for coming in, and good luck with, I hope you get something out of it all. I hope you meaning Nepal. I must say, I've described Nepal as a small country. I'm only comparing it to, say, China, because I've walked in Nepal and it seemed to me a huge country. I never seemed to get to the end of the walks I was on, maybe because it was always going upwards as well as sideways. But many, many thanks for coming in, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk again another time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.